Boerboels is a very special breed, near and dear to my heart. Love them to death. I feel like they're the best breed of dogs. That's why I choose them. I love dogs in general, but I feel like the Boerboel is the best dog to have, the most complete dog. So I choose, and I'm passionate to be enthusiastic about the breed. We want to take this back because you know what? It's a lot going on. It's a lot of deception going on. It's a lot of deceptive practices going on and leading people to believe that the other way is the right way. Well, this is the way. Dogs are meant to be by your side. They are our companions. And it goes back to over 10,000 years. Dogs came to be domesticated from the wolf, close association with the wolf. This is something that has been since the beginning of time almost. You can find dogs in tomb of Egyptians. You can find dogs in some of the oldest fossils that was ever discovered. Dogs was there with the people. We want to take a close examination of that fact. And it's important to understand how we came to be associated with the dog, and the dog are closely associated with man. They call him man's best friend. And there's a reason why. They evolved as we evolved. And it goes all the way back to the beginning of time. Dogs served alongside of man. It was a dog that separated from the wolf pack. One of the first earlier ancestors was a direct relative of a wolf. And he found that it was easier living. It was ideal living alongside the humans that traveled. So when humans traveled, he would pick up the scraps. Eventually, the humans determined this dog could be an ally. The dog would let them know which way the game was going, which way the predators was headed. They served as a lookout at night. And eventually, as humans evolved, we had different fractions of the dog evolve. So some people sought after different game. You had some people that's seeking out birds, depending on your geographic location. As humans migrated, so did the dog. So that's a fact. That's going over to 10,000 years ago. So let's fast forward a little bit and let's get closer to colonialization and the ships sailing the seven seas and Roman times and the British Empire, right? So now society has evolved into a civilized society, and you got still tribal nation. So you got two different sections of mankind. And some people still use the dogs for hunting and gathering and different purposes. Then you had people that were conquering, like the British. Christopher Columbus sailed over to the United States. They brought dogs with him, the bulldogs, and they used those dogs for like bull controlling of the bulls, controlling of the livestock. Those dogs also evolved into the bulldogs. Remember, during this colonial time period, they were traveling different seas. The dogs are also arrived about 100 or 200 years later, 1652, I believe, with about 150 years later, roughly, with Jan van Riebeck and the Dutch. The Dutch were the ones that colonized in South Africa. So we already 150 years past the time of Christopher Columbus, right? So remember, the natives in South Africa, they had the Zulus. They was going up against the Zulu. And there was a very different type of warrior mindset there. They were already indigenous people there. The Zulus were warriors. They had to get some serious ammunition to go up against the Zulu tribes. They said, hey, these guys was killing the settlers, the Boers, the ones that separated from the original Van der Riebecks. Okay, so South Africa is 150 years behind the USA, right? And they still are practicing apartheid. And apartheid was the way that they separated people from, working people. That was a form of prejudice. That was a form of racism, to be blunt. It was practiced within their own country, these indigenous people, right? And that lasted all the way up until 1983. Coincidentally, when the end of apartheid came, you also had the birth of the Boerboel breed. So in England, they had already established a dog organization. Right, apartheid is slavery. They had also a system for standardized dog breeding. Right. And this is the school of thought that we practice today, where, people got together on Sundays, or they got together on weekdays or whatever, and they formed these clubs, and everybody had their different distinct type of dogs, and they kind of showcased them, and they said, well, this is a Dachshund, or this is a Cavalier King's Charles Spaniel, and this is they had their different breeds. And that was the birth of the organizations and the standardized dog breed. And it was purely based off of the look and the visual appeal of the dogs. Right. They also had used this school of thought of the genetic purity. So remember, during this time, you also had Hitler, you had the Queen of England, and they was trying to create a pure race. And what they did was they isolated certain sections of family, and they only bred or mated within those closed gene pools, right? So this is the school of thought they had used to also breed dogs. This same mindset, this same breeding pattern, or this same breeding schematics. This was designed to produce a pure race. What we're not going to do is we're not going to be fooled by these organizations. Let's bring it up to speed. They birthed the South African Boerboel organization. The original organization is the SABT, and it's designed to control. What they say at this time, we need to supplement our income. We don't have slaves anymore. We got to do something. They already have this system designed, guys. What we can do is we can capitalize on this system, and we just promote this breed, the South African Boerboel breed, as South Africa's own land race, something very unique, right? And these, as a group, they were really trying to supplement their income. So it's beneficial for their sales. This market, they essentially created a market for the export. The dogs were a commodity, and they went out, sought 80 dogs that fit into this criteria, this very limited criteria, and that's the birth of the Boerboel breed. However, these dogs had already been established. They had already been serving alongside human beings, and they were crafted to fit into the South African lifestyle because they had remote farms, they had livestock, they had locations. Remember that these tribes were also at war for their land. They were also trying to take back what they believed to be theirs, and the dogs served as defense against the people. So you got these dogs and on the farms that protected against the indigenous people that was the primary purpose. It's only so much that a Boerboel or a pack of Boerboels can do against a lion. The primary threat in South Africa was tribes of the indigenous people coming onto the property, taking back their land, taking back what they believed was theirs. So these organizations decide at the post-apartheid, like I said, they're going to birth the breed as an export market. Remember that the South African dollar is not a dominating dollar. You got the euro, you got the American dollar that holds a higher value. So these groups, they form this breed. They're going to send it overseas. They're going to translate the dollars with, I think, 13 South African rands for every euro, 16 for every dollar. And this was a way for them to supplement their income. So now they're selling dogs versus for the international market. This was their vision. That's the birth of the organization, the South African Boerboel organization. This is the standardized governing organization, right? And what they're going to do is they're going to regulate, and they're going to say whose dogs are best, what dogs is what dog is correct dog, what dog is the champion dog, which dog is the ideal that we have for this breed. It's the same old song. It's nothing new. They're going to make a group for their own benefit. And the system, what it does is they promote their own breeds, because remember, if we get our hands on this breed, we start to craft it out to what we believe is proper. How does it fit exactly into our system? And we could take over. There's no need for us to keep importing dogs from South Africa. And they say, well, those dogs over there, those dogs are not correct. The dogs that you have are basically B quality. And they rate these, they come up with this rating system, and it leads you to believe that those dogs in South Africa, the dogs that from the motherland, are somehow better, are somehow superior. We are the ones, the people make the organization. That's what makes these dogs work. We're the ones that's actually out here with our dogs, working them, applying them, spending time with them. So who are they to say what is correct? Exotic Boerboel Familia, we're the ones that take our dogs to these organizations, to these appraisals. This is what makes the system work. We are the ones that define what the dog, if it serves the purpose or not. It's not about the way that the dog looks. It's about the way the dogs perform. You have to love Boerboels in order to breed Boerboels successfully. You're not going to have a great amount of success with these dogs if you're not doing what you're supposed to do with them. They're not commodities. It's not a toy or a truck. It's not an ornament. It's not something that you just have and you play with for 30 minutes a day and then put it back in the cage. That doesn't work. This dog is a very intelligent breed. If you take it back to the beginning of time, that's what the dogs were designed to do. They're designed to be with you. And if you don't have time for the breed, then you don't have a need for the breed. You need to get rid of the dogs. This is what the dogs do. They're meant to accompany the farmer on his daily list of chores. So we're going to continue to keep putting in the work, because the results cannot be denied. And we're going to continue to put in the work. This is about having the best dog that you could ever have in the history of all dogs. And I'll say that again, that ain't going to change. I'm going to keep on saying it over and over again, because that's really where I'm coming from with this. We're going to have the best dogs ever in the history of the game. We're going to go down Exotic Boerboel Familia. We're going down in the history, and we're going to make our mark, and they're going to always be able to go back and say our dogs at this time, generation after generation, can go up against any dogs in the world. I put them up against any dog in the world. Our dogs is the proving of the formula. This is the proof of the formula. The outputs of the formula is the actual dogs. And you can see it, what it means. And we would do this for free.
No rush, go and move dumb. Back and forth, push and shove. Make your peace and love turn to peace and gloves. Now you got a deal run up. No rush, go and move dumb. Back and forth, push and shove. Make your peace and love turn to peace and now you got a deal run up. Whole gang, whole man, old school, young jam.